Okay, I think we got it working this time. Hello. Um, if you don't know me, my name's Zygarde FGC. I do draft things. I'm the coach of the Sky High Deltas. I offered to do some PRs for the Manaphy division. I gotta put mine in the bottom tier. Ah, there we go. So yeah, I'm going to do some of those today. This is unscripted. I'm too lazy to make a script, and I'm too lazy to make a script. So, anywho, I'm gonna do everybody's PRs except for my own for obvious reasons because I will be biased. Um, I'm gonna do it based on the based on the doc. I know some people have made changes. I know I made changes, so I'm gonna judge based on what I see on the doc, which I believe is the original draft after Grace. So, um, to the people who made changes, those changes are not gonna be reflected in this. So, anywho, um, I'm gonna go ahead and just go in coach order. Yeah, let's do that. This is our doc. So, first up, we have King Omega in the Georgetown Goomies. His team. Honestly, when I first looked at this team, I wasn't super convinced of its synergy, is how I would put it. I wasn't super convinced of its synergy because you do have some conflicting roles with this Mega Skull villain and this Volcarona. Obviously, if you want one or the other, I would choose the Volcarona. I think Volcarona was pretty underpriced on this board, just because you do have that rage power support that Skull Villain has, but you don't use a Mega slot, and you also get access to Tailwind and also a Special Sweeper if you really want it, with some Quiver Dance stuff. And obviously it does good damage with like Heat Wave and Bug Buzz. It gets Giga Drain too for water cover to cover for some waters, because this team does struggle quite a bit into waters in general. You have that Diggersby that doesn't want to take a water move. You have the Skill Villain who doesn't really want to take a water move. You have this big Aerodactyl that doesn't want to take a water move either. I mean, Gujar resists it, and so does Klefki, right? But it's like you have three very water weak Pokemon, and a lot of them are neutral. And I mean, obviously, you also have this Mega Blastoise that's gonna resist that water move, but you have three Megas competing for the Mega Evolution every fight, right? So, and most of the time, you're gonna want to Mega this Aerodactyl because you will get more mileage out of it more times than not. This Blastoise is probably gonna be your secondary. Yeah, that's kind of the thing, is that I don't love the synergy between the Mega Skull Villain and the Volcarona here. I think it's very they're the same exact role, right? Except one of them takes the Mega slot and has a better ability, and the other one provides like Tailwind and Will-O-Wisp and Quiver Dance, things like that. So I think the rest of this team is pretty synergistic. Obviously, you have this nice Trick Room mode with the Mimikyu, the Goodra, and the Weirdeer, and this Blastoise can also work inside a Tailwind or Trick Room. You also have this Conkeldurr, which can help with Trick Room. And then, I'm not sure Diggersby's speed tier. Let me look that up, actually. I'm gonna look that up on my phone right now. I think it's a Trick Room on, but I'm gonna double check here. Um, Diggersby. It's a basic speed, so it can work inside of Tailwind or Trick Room, which I mean is pretty okay. But Diggersby is probably here mostly for like, I don't know, knockoff. Does it get like I don't know its move pool. Let's look, shall we? Let us look. Yeah, it's probably here mostly for support. Obviously it's got Brick Break and Rock Slide, and it's got like Fire Punch. It has Sword Stance EQ, which can also be really good. Could actually be pretty scary. Let's see, what else does it have? It's got Super Fang? Huh. Not sure if it gets that in Champions, but if it does, I mean, it has Super Fang, which is good support. It's got U-turn, so it can pivot out. This thing has a lot of coverage. I'm kind of shocked. It has Gunk Shot and Wild Charge. That's kind of. So wait, hold on. That's kind of nasty. I'm learning things today. And it's got agility for a potential like Tailwind agility Diggersby set. That could be fun. And yeah, it's got like rock because I bet it's here for like Swords Dance, Rock Slide, EQ stuff, and it's got surprise coverage with like Gunk Shot and where's the other one? Yeah, it's got surprise coverage with Gunk Shot, and also has Super Fang to help with some tankier mons. So I'm guessing this is here just because it has pretty good utility. I mean, it can U-turn out. It's got Iron Hit. It's got Gunk Shot. It's got Swords Dance for like EQ stuff. Yeah, I think I might have underrated this mon a little bit. I don't know if it gets like Helping Hand or stuff like that, but I mean, I can see it kind of. I'm not sure how much big damage this thing's gonna put down because it's not an Azumarill, right? It's not gonna belly drum Citrus Berry up unless it can. I was just looking on the page from what I could see, and it was just showing Sword and Shield. So I mean, I could be wrong. It's an outdated moveset, but it feels a bit. It is another one of those things where like what? Okay, apologies. Yeah, I think this thing is mostly here to just do physical offensive damage, but I mean, unless it has like Helping Hand, things besides Super Fang are just not really going to run on this thing, right? For support. And so it's not like a very flexible one, and obviously, like, you have Weird Ear that can set up Trick Room, it can be physical or special, it has, Frisk and Intimidate, it has two really good abilities. Normal Psychic is a pretty good, it's a good, solid typing, right? So it feels like Weird Ear kind of fills that same role as Diggersby here. That's kind of my biggest gripe with this team in particular, is that it feels like a lot of the Pokemon on this team are conflicting for roles, right? Besides like this Klefki, which is a good prankster Thunderwave mon, cast screens and stuff too, which is really nice. But I mean, like Gudra kind of fulfills like its own role too, right? With like Shelter Body Press or like a special set with like Draco Meteor and Muddy Water. It also gets like Sludge Bomb. It's really here for a Trick Room Sweep with like this Mimikyu and this Weird Ear and this Conkeldurr, right? Is what I'm thinking that it's really here for. And obviously his first pick was Mega Aerodactyl, which is an interesting first pick. It's a very, very, very strong Pokemon in the Champions meta right now. It gets, Wide Guard, Tailwind, it gets Dual Wing Beat for Sashes, it gets Tough Claws Rock Slide too, so it's not only like a really nice support Pokemon, but you don't necessarily have to Mega Evolve it for it to do, its job. It's very flexible, but it's also can be pretty predictable to prep for because it really is only going to run like Wide Guard, Tailwind, Rock Slide, Dual Wing Beat. It might run like Crunch if it still hits that. It's not. It's not a Pokemon that you have to necessarily like really work around, especially because it is so frail. And that's another problem with Mega Aerodactyl in a draft league like this, is because you can easily calc to just one shot it, right? And it's not a base Aerodactyl where you can hold a Focus Sash. It's Mega Aerodactyl, which it does also have that plus side of being the fastest thing on the entire board, and it's not really close. I mean, Dragapult with a Scarf can probably outrun this, but that's the only thing that's gonna outspeed it, right? So you always know that you have the speed advantage with the Mega Aerodactyl, which is really nice. But I think overall this team is okay. I can see the modes on it. It's obviously got that Tailwind offensive mode. It's got some flexible ones with the Diggersby and the Mimikyu that can be in Tailwind or Trick Room depending on the matchup. You have two reliable Trick Room setters with Weird Ear and Mimikyu that are pretty difficult to stop from Trick Room going up, especially the Mimikyu because it does have that disguise. Even though you lose some of your health when your disguise is broken, you still have disguise, right? So you can really like work with that and make some really good defensive plays, and it makes Mimikyu more difficult than you think to get rid of it. Is how I would say it. I mean, you got your Fire Water Grass core, you've got Scovillain for your grass, you have the Blastoise for your water, and you have the Volcarona and the Scovillain, I guess, for your fire. So you have your defensive Fire Water Grass core, which is good. I think that's a big fundamental on most teams, especially draft teams. You have your Fairy, your Dragon, and your Steel as well. You have your Fairy and your Mimikyu, you have Steel and Klefki and Goodra, and you have your Dragon and Goodra, right? So defensive core wise, it's actually a pretty good team. It's just for me the hardest thing to work with here is the fact that you do have conflicting roles with a lot of these Pokemon. Um Especially with this Scoville and Volcarona, which really kind of bothers me, especially because it feels like more times than not you would rather bring the Volcarona, it feels like, unless you're going against like the Garchomp on my team, for example, or something else that can do big rock damage, then you would bring the Scovillain. But then that's taking up your Mega slot, right? Where you could use it for like your Blastoise or your Aerodactyl, which are better options overall for to support this specific draft. So yeah, I think I can see the modes. I can see kind of what you're going for, but for me, it's very conflicting in its roles. And it feels like there's not a lot of flexibility with a lot of these mons, except for like the Volcarona. A lot of these Pokemon are pretty predictable because Blastoise obviously is going to Mega Evolve and want to click Water Spout, right? In either Trick Room or Tailwind. And so obviously you can play, around with that. So, and I mean, Conkeldurr and Blastoise both get Fake Out, which is pretty good, but for me, it feels like a lot of this team is pretty predictable in what it wants to do and how it wants to do it. So, making a game plan around it, while it's not necessarily like easy, you can know at team preview kind of exactly what he's going to do, right? Which I think is a disadvantage in draft because you want to be as unpredictable as you can. This is close team sheets. So for me, while it's okay and I can see some potential with it, I am going to put it in B. Hold on, I'm going to make this F. I'm going to make this T. And I'm probably not going to put anything in S tier unless I'm severely impressed. I'm pretty picky, so. Yeah, for me, I think it's a solid B. There's role conflictions, but a lot of these Pokemon are pretty strong. And I think if Omega can get really creative with these mons, I think it can excel. So we're gonna skip over this team. This team is lame. I was second pick. I'm not gonna grade my own team. I know what I think about it, and I know that it's like it's okay, but it's not great. Like if I was putting it in the actual tier, I'd probably put it above Omega, but like just above Omega. Like obviously there's like huge spread damage, but anyway, we're gonna move on. Okay, third pick was Joe Mama. Um Really good friend of mine. Yeah, let's gonna take a look at this team. He has Rain question mark. This is a very bizarre team is how I would put it. Bizarre doesn't mean bad. It just means that like you don't like completely understand what he's thinking here until you dig deeper into it, right? So obviously you have this Arcalodon. Arcalodon is fantastic mon. It's usually used in rain. It obviously lost access to body press, which is spooky. But it doesn't mean Arcalodon is good. Arcalodon is a very, very, very good mon. It's bulky, it's got steel dragon typing. Obviously Electro Shot is a busted move. It's very flexible in its moveset, etc., etc. Arcalodon does Arcalodon things. I'm sure if you're watching this, you know what Arcalodon does. So, Arcalodon was his first pick, and then we have the Venusaur, Meowscarada, Kangaskhan, Araquanid, Slurpuff, which is an interesting pick. Mega Baynet, Dragonite, Blaze Tauros, and Raichu. Um, I don't hate this team, honestly. It feels like it's a rain team, but no rain setter, right? Besides like Mega Baynet. But then you're not using your Mega slot on Venusaur, and Mega Venusaur is very strong in draft. I've learned over time. I've played a lot of VGC draft, and Mega Venusaur is incredibly strong. It's a lot stronger than you would think it would be because it's more flexible than you would think. You can be very offensive. You could be bulky, leash sheet, sleep powder. You can be like max speed, max special attack, sludge bomb, giga drain, earth power. It's a flexible mod. You do have your Firewater Grass Core, you have your Blaze Tauros, you have, the Araquanid, and then you have the Meowscarada and Venusaur. I know there's double grass here, and while that normally is pretty bad, I don't think it's really that bad in this case, right? Because more times than not, you're gonna want to figure out a way to set up rain either with that Araquanid, maybe with this Dragonite here, because it has multi-scale, or maybe you decide that Mega Venusaur isn't good for the matchup, so you bring Mega Bayonet for Prankster Rain Dance. I think Arcaludon also gets Rain Dance, Raichu gets Rain Dance. A lot of these Pokemon get Rain Dance, it's just a matter of getting the weather up. Because you don't necessarily want, like, sun up with this team, right? Sun with the bridge sounds like a not so fun time to me. But yeah, I don't think this team is bad at all. You got Fake Out Pressure with Kangaskhan. You can also do like a Soul Scarf with like Fake Out Last Resort. You can do you have Scrappy shenanigans, and I think Scrappy is always fun. Raichu gets Follow Me and Lightning Rod to help protect this Araquanid here, protect the Dragonite as well, which is really useful with Lightning Rod. And then it gets Fake Out and Endeavor. It gets like Volt Switch. Raichu is a very good utility mon. It is pretty frail though, so you have to be careful with it, but it's a good utility one. Araquanid, I think, is an interesting choice because when you're going up against like a Trick Room team, or you decide, hey, this is a faster paced team, I need to set up Trick Room. Araquanid is going to be your goat to sweep in Trick Room, right? It also gets Entrainment Water Bubble, which could be fun, and honestly quite terrifying because like Entrainment Water Bubble, like Tauros taking half damage from water moves, and the rain is up with a Tauros. With a Blaze Tauros, they can click like close combat into you sounds pretty scary. Like maybe that's just me, but that sounds honestly terrifying. Like water bubble on any of these mons on our Caledon, good luck killing it. But you would rather have like stamina or solver, right? But I think this Araquanid could do a lot. It also gets Wide Guard, which is like bread and butter of Champions VGC. Wide Guard is pretty important because there is so much strong spread damage in this meta. So I think Araquanid is an interesting pickup. Slurpuff, I actually talked to him DMs about this because I was confused about this pick, and he said that he liked it because it was a cheap fairy support and it gets more than you would think. And I agree with that. It gets String Shot, which is a good move, honestly. I think it also gets Helping Hand and Encore and stuff as well. I'm gonna look it up and make sure my facts are correct here. I'm gonna make sure my facts are correct here. Like obviously its stats aren't the best, but like you want a fairy type mostly for support. It also, yeah, it also gets Sticky Web, which is interesting. You're not gonna see that a lot in BGC, but it could be a really nice like niche tech if you need like the Meowscarada with a scarf to outspeed something specifically with a scarf, like a Dragapult, for instance, could be fun. It also gets screens and safeguard, and safeguard I think is a really big one because a lot of Pokemon that other people have drafted have at least one or two ways to status to help control pacing, right? So having that safeguard with that Slurpuff to prevent that and like reset your tempo and things like that, I think is really nice. Yeah, it gets a lot more coverage than you would think. That is for sure. I don't think it gets Trick Room though. Let me look. If it doesn't get Trick Room, I'm gonna be surprised. It does not get Trick Room. Unless that changed in Champions, it does not get Trick Room, which is bizarre. Feels like it should get Trick Room, but I think it's a good cheap pickup. And then obviously you have the base Dragonite, which is a strong physical dragon type. You have your special one, and then you have your physical one. Uh, what else is there to say? Mega Bayonet, I think, is an interesting pick here. Having your Mega be your prankster Pokemon isn't necessarily like the best thing, but it's better than a stick in the eye, right? Like you would rather have a way to prankster setup because there isn't a lot of prankster setup. So I think having the Mega Bayonet is really smart, and it's also immune to like Fake Out. so it can get that really fast, like rain dance up, or it can, with the right support, get that trick room up, or get that will-o-wisp off, or whatever it needs to do. And it's also very, very strong. You would be surprised how much a Mega Bayonet Shadow Sneak will do to you. Like, I've seen Mega Bayonet Shadow Sneak do 50% to a physically defensive Garchomp before, and that's pretty nuts when you think about it. So yeah, I think this team is pretty good. It's got your Fire Water Grass, it's got your Dragon Steel Fairy cores, which I think are both really important. It's got Intimidate, it's got the Follow Me support. Yeah, I think it's a pretty decent team. I think power level wise, it's a bit lower than the rest of the field, but I don't think you should underestimate this team because of the like bit lower of a power level, because it does have so many things that you can do and it is so flexible, which I think is more important than anything. So for me, I'm gonna put this in A. Actually, I think it's pretty. I think it's a solid. I think it's a solid team with all of the fundamentals that you need and a lot of tricks in its bag that you're not gonna really expect. It's just a matter of piloting it correctly. So for me, that's an A tier team. Okay, moving on, we have Mr. Owlmancer. MX Owlmancer? I'm not sure about pronouns. We have Owlmancer. Sneasler, Dragapult, Primarina, Mega Gallade, Mega Aggron, Mega Meowstic, Emolga, Altaria, Serena, and Stunfisk Galar. It's hyper offense. Like this is a hyper offensive team. There's not a whole lot you can say about it. Whereas Joe's like you have to really like explain why I think what I think. This one, it's just a good offensive team. There's not a whole lot you can say. Dragapult is the fastest non-mega thing that there is, and with a scarf, good luck outspeeding it. Even it'll outspeed Mega Aerodactyl. Like, you have the fastest non-mega commitment on the board, and to top it off, it is really flexible. It can be bulky. It can be bulky with screens. It could be offensive sash with like Draco Meteor. It can be physical or special. It's extremely difficult to prep for. And it also gets two amazing abilities in Infiltrator, which will ignore screens for like Aurora Veil or like a Reflector Light Screen. It also gets Clear Body, which means Womp Womp, no Intimidate for you, which I think is really good. And then you pair that with Sneasler, who is the fastest thing once Unburden gets procced, and it also gets Poison Touch, which is a really good ability as well for those Dire Claw statuses. And it synergizes with the Dragapult as well, because Dragapult does get Hex, so you can get that 60% poison chance on that Sneasler with the Dire Claw, and then you can Hex with the Dragapult and do insane amounts of damage in one or two shot pretty much everything on the board, which I think is a fun synergy. Um, to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of this team, but it is very, very strong. Because you do have that Steeler and that Dragapult, and you do have that Primarina, which is a very, very strong offensive core that covers each other extremely well. It's very offensive. Yeah, it's very offensive. It's a very offensive three-man core, and then you add that with like Mega Aggron, for instance, to get that Dragon Steel Fairy core, and then you also have that Poison type to really put on a lot of pressure and just blow things apart, right? And it also decentivizes use of Trick Room, because what if Mega Aggron comes in, then, it could just Iron Defense Body Press you to death, or like Heavy Slam you, or Earthquake you, or insert move here. I'm not sure about Mega Aggron's moveset, but it's a hyper offensive team. It's very, very scary. I think Mega Meowstic is a fun pick, because you can keep it base and still be okay, and you can have like Meowstic just set up whatever you wanted to set up. It could set up Rain Dance for the Primarina, it could set up Psychic Terrain to prevent, like Fake Out or something like that. It can use screens, and then it can use its own Fake Out. It's very flexible, which I think is fun. And then if you want to Mega Evolve it and click, Expanding Force after you set up your Psychic Terrain, I hope you have Wide Guard, and if you don't, then you better pray, because that's going to do a lot of damage. Molga's here, obviously, I think, for Tailwind. So is Altaria. Altaria also shuts down weather, which is really nice, because there are multiple rain teams. So shutting down that weather and denying them rain is a very nice tool to have. Serena then also prevents, like, it does that same thing as Psychic Terrain, right? Where your Queenly Majesty just prevents all priority to let Sneasler Dragapult, outspeed everything and blow things up. Mega Gallade is an interesting pick because you can choose to not Mega it, and it does have access to like Wide Guard and Psycho Cut and things like that. Very good Mon, very solid Mon. I think I was underrating this team a fair bit. Now that I'm really looking at it, it's a very strong offensive team. It's not got a whole lot of holes in it. I will say that there is no fire, so you don't have your like whole fire, water, grass core, which for me is pretty important and knocks it down a few steps. But I think overall this is a very very strong team. I'm gonna put that in a solid A. Wherever the team may be, it's above Joe's for sure. I don't think it's S tier material because you are missing some components, but I think it is overall a very very strong hyper offensive team. Okay, next we have Mr. TK Sanity. This man's team is terrifying. There's not a lot I can say is wrong with it. I will say I don't love like the Audino plus Rotom picks. But also it's like the rest of your team is so strong, right? And simple Mega Floette sounds absolutely terrifying. So, his team is Mega Floette, Mousehold, Talonflame, Spothra, Excadrill, Mega Tyranitar, Chestnut, Vaporeon, Audino, and Base Rotom. Um, yeah, it's a strong team. You have Friend Guard, Follow Me, Super Fang support with the Mousehold. You can set up with the Floette or just be pure offensive. Talonflame gets priority Tailwind with Gale Wings. The Spothra can Calm Mind Speed with Baton Pass over to Floette and make it even scarier. The Excadrill Tyranitar is a good anti-weather, and then you have the Sandstream Sandrush combination, which is very, very strong. And Excadrill and Tyranitar can also work separately as well and be incredibly strong. They don't have to be a duo, but they're probably most likely going to come as a duo. Chestnut gets access to White Guard. It's a grass type. It can work inside of Trick Room if Trick Room ever goes up, or you need Trick Room to go up for a specific reason. But I don't feel like you would want to with this team because it is very, very fast naturally. Unless you want to run like a Bulky or Mega Floette, which you could. You easily could. Um, and then Vaporeon gets, Helping Hand, Muddy Water. It gets Life Steal, I'm pretty sure. It's a good support water type that isn't too expensive, and I think that this team overall is pretty much a stroke of genius, honestly. I think you did an incredible job drafting. You have your Fire, Water, Grass core, you have your, you don't have a dragon, which is my complaint. I feel like you should have a dragon type in this meta. They're the strongest type in this meta for a reason. I mean, you do have things to deal with dragon types and be fine, but I feel like you would really want to have some sort of dragon type, even if it's not necessarily good. That's my only complaint really with this team. I think it's very, very, very well put together. Definitely. Well, at least for me, it's like top two scariest drafts, right, in the entire league because each Pokemon has a role that they're really good at, but they can be flexible, and that's what makes it scary, right? Because that Mega Float could just be 3 attacking moves. It could be, it does get like Giga Drain and Energy Ball and some really weird coverage moves. It also gets like Synthesis, which is interesting to heal itself back up if you wanted to use a Sunny Day set for some reason, but I feel like you wouldn't with this team. Unless you're facing Sun. There is a Sun team. I wonder whose team that is. It's mine. I have a Sun team. There's a Charizard Y as well, so there are a couple Sun teams you could run. Synthesis Mega Flowout with that. Let's make it even harder to get rid of. Yeah, I think this is a very well put together team because the Mega Floette is the raid boss, right? It is the monster threat, but you do have all of these secondary threats that you also have to be aware of that could also do damage. You can't just focus on that Floette. There are other things that can blow you up. That Excadrill Tyranitar 2 can come up and blow you up if you aren't prepared for it, right? That Spothra could be, offensive stored power if you're not ready for it. That Talonflame could be very it can do big damage if you're not careful, That Mousehold does get Super Fang to wear you down as well. The Audino has simple for like Dragon Dance, Sword Stance, or Calm Mind, Floette that you have to be aware of, right? there's a lot of varying threats and enough differing sets that it makes this team genuinely terrifying. I have to face it for my week 2, and I'm scared. I'm scared. I am genuinely terrified. This is very well constructed, very well put together draft. I think it's an S tier. It is top 2 for me. Um, Not that I'm saying that the rest of the drafts are bad. I think everybody did a great job drafting. I just think this team in particular is kind of a masterpiece, right? Like, you can't ask for a better draft than this. So, yeah, that's why I'm gonna put it in S tier. Moving on. T-Taz and the Cooking Crocs. Sableye went round 1. I think that's funny. So this team is Sableye, Milotic, Mega Gardevoir, Mega Victory Bell, Snorlax, Realm Heat, Ringaroo, Mega Crabominable, Garganacl, and Toucannon. This team is interesting because when you first look at it, you think, oh, Tail Room. No. This feels like a hard Trick Room team, but it's also not, really. But I'm pretty sure, like, Toucannon can set up Tailwind if you decide you want a Tailwind mode, but, like, you have so many strong Trick Room Pokemon here, right? Like, the Gardevoir can work in and out of Trick Room. Crabominable is terrifying inside a Trick Room. Garganacl is good inside a Trick Room. Mega Victory Bell is good inside a Trick Room. Snorlax is terrifying inside of Trick Room. Sableye can quash things to make it before Trick Room is up, to make sure that Crabominable, the Gardevoir, and the Snorlax all get their moves off before faster threats, right? You have this Rotom Heat that has the Levitate if you decide you want to run Earthquake Garganacl. You have the Ringaroo to help support and do some instruct shenanigans with that Gardevoir, with that Crabominable, with that Garganacl, with that Snorlax. You have Milotic here for more speed control. You have Life Dew. You have Life Dew, Muddy Water. You have Icy Wind if you decide you want to go for a faster mode. But this feels like a hard Trick Room team. It's probably not. I'll probably be corrected on that, but for me, this does feel very much like a. Sorry, I have to turn up the brightness on my computer just a little bit. This does very much feel like it wants Trick Room up. If Trick Room goes up, you lose. Prevent Trick Room from going up, right? But that Toucannon is pretty sneaky. It can set up Tailwind. And that Sableye does get Thunder Wave and stuff like that too, which is, you have to be wary of that. But, yeah, this is hard Trick Room. It's got all the tools that you need for hard Trick Room. It's got some tools to go outside of Trick Room. I'm sorry if you can hear background noise. My parents are yelling. Yeah, this feels like a hard Trick Room team. Feels like it's a very well constructed hard Trick Room team. You do have your Fire, Water, Grass, which is important. You don't have a Steel type, which is pretty spooky. I'm not gonna lie. I was gonna say you do have your Fairy, Dragon, Steel, but you don't have a Dragon and you don't have a Steel, which are both extremely important defensive typings, and I think that's really what drags this team down, right? Is that even though, like, it is a very well constructed hard Trick Room team, not having some defensive pieces and instead having a lot more offense for hard Trick Room can be your downfall, because you do want to be able to survive hits outside of Trick Room so that you can buy time to set yourself up for Trick Room and set yourself up to blow things up and have success, right? So I think for me, personally, it's hard to place. Hard Trick Room is very hard to place. I think the other thing too is that, like, Mega Victory Bell's never really coming, right? Unless for some reason you're facing Sun. There are 2 Sun teams. In which case you might want base Chlorophyll Victory Bell for Sleep Powder stuff, but if you Mega Evolve it in, like, it gets one shot, I mean, you get your innards out, but you would much rather Mega Evolve Gardevoir or Crabominable, right? So I think Victory Bell's kind of a weak point, but I can see why it was drafted. I'm not mad about it. My big thing is that you are missing some pretty crucial defensive pieces here in, like, a water type. Like, a good water type played correctly is just going to completely ruin your day. Like, Rotom Wash completely ruins your day. like Cuban's Rotom Wash, it'll ruin your day. I think having in Water and Electric are both very common offensive types, but just those 2 types alone are gonna screw you over pretty bad if you don't play correctly, and you're you're kind of fighting weak too in a way, right? So I think even though this is a well put together team, it does have some pretty major defensive holes. So I think for me, it's gonna go into B. I'm probably not gonna put things below B. I am gonna put it above. I'm gonna put it below Omegas. I'm gonna try to keep these in order. No promises. All of these teams are very good. So, well, all of these teams are very good. I'm being very picky here. So, okay. Next up, we have the Phoenix Ho-Ohs in Omega VGC. Mega Gengar, King Gambit, Whimsicott, Mega Alakazam, Male Meowstic, Charizard, Hisuian, Decidueye, Feraligatr, Mr. Rime, and Pikachu. This is the other top 2 team for me in this division. It's terrifying. Um, I think, yeah, because you do have that Meowstic, and you have that Whimsicott. You have 2 Prankster users that can ruin your day with Tailwind or Psychic Terrain or Fake Out or Screens or Sunny Day for a Charizard, Solar Power shenanigans. That happened week 1. I brought it for the mock against whoever he was playing first week. I think it was Joe. Which can be scary. Yeah, it seems terrifying. You have that King Gambit for Sucker Punch priority and also to discourage like Trick Room. You do have a bit of a Trick Room mode with this King Gambit, Decidueye Feraligatr, this Mr. Rime even. Pikachu gets Follow Me, Fake Out support. Meowstic does Meowstic things. It gets screens, it gets let's see. Does it get champions again? It gets screens, Psychic Terrain, Sunny Day, Rain Dance. It gets Gravity, it gets Expanding Force, I think, to take advantage of its own Psychic Terrain. It gets a lot of utility. This is utility of the Pokemon, in a sense. And the Meowstic plus Mega Alakazam duo you have to be terrified of because, like, Psychic Terrain Expanding Force just goes kaboom. But you also have to be careful of, like, the Gengar and Whimsicott that can just Tailwind explode you as well. And you also have to be careful of, like, the King Gambit plus Mr. Rime because Mr. Rime can set up screens and Trick Room for it. And you also have to be kind of scared of this Decidueye because it can also set up Tailwind as well. And the Charizard Under the Sun can be a huge offensive powerhouse. But Charizard's pretty much only gonna come, I think, for Sun stuff. But yeah, this team has everything you could ask for. You have fast special offensive pressure. You have a bit of bulk with this King Gambit and this Decidueye and this Mr. Rime. You have 2 very terrifying modes and like a secret third mode with that sunny day like Whimsicott Meowstic. Charizard that I was talking about that came to a game. You have Perish Song end games with Gengar as well. You could do Tailwind, you could do Trick Room. It's very flexible. It's very, very strong. You have your Fire Water Grass with your Charizard and your Feraligatr and your Whimsicott. You have your Fairy Steel Dragon with, there is no dragon on this team. Huh. Well, I guess minus some points for that. I feel like in this meta you want to have a dragon type, right? But you do have that Whimsicott and that King Gambit, which are a strong defensive duo. There's not a lot of weaknesses, and the weaknesses that this team does have, somebody else on the team covers for them. You have so many different modes, so many different options. It's very difficult to prep for. It's a very, very well constructed draft team. And he does have some points left over too, so bonus points for that. But yeah, I think this is an extremely well put together draft. It's got all the fundamentals you can need. It's got every single tool in the book. It's difficult to prep for. I'm scared for anybody who has to face it because there is just so much that this team can do, right? So I think it's another easy S tier. I think it's above TK's, to be honest, because there is so much more flexibility, and the Pokemon that do their roles do them really well and are very strong at them. And they can do secondary roles as well, which makes this team a bitch to prep for. So, okay. Next up, we have Mr. Cuban himself, Mr. Victini guy. His team is Sinistcha, Rotom Wash, Mega Dragonite, Mega Lucario, Hisuian Zoroark, Ariados, Pangoro, Hippowdon, Alolan Ninetales, and Watchog. I think this is a pretty solid team. Yeah, so I was starting to like run out of breath a little bit here, but I think it's a very good. I think it's just a very solid team, right? Because you do have that Trick Room mode with that with that Sinistra and Pangoro, which is really strong, and maybe you could have like that Hippowdon even. You have the Rotom Wash, which is extremely flexible and can do anything that you need it to do. You have Mega Dragonite and Mega Lucario, who don't necessarily have to Mega Evolve to do, good jobs. I'm assuming Zoroark is also a great utility. Ariados is a very cheap redirector, and also won a tournament, so shoutouts to Ariados for that. The Alolan Ninetales does get that Aurora Veil, gets that Snow to put on some pressure as well. I think this is overall a very utility focused team, but I think it's very solid for said utility focus, right? I don't necessarily think it's, award winning strong, but I think if you don't prep for it, you are going to get pretty easily overwhelmed. So, for me, this is A. For me, this is A. Yeah, there's not a whole lot to say. I feel like I should be saying more, but there's just not a lot to say because you do have speed control with Zoroark, Ancestra with Icy Wind and Trick Room. You have Rotom Wash, which is Rotom Wash. I mean, it does Rotom Wash things. Rotom is very strong in this particular draft, in my opinion. If you can have a Rotom, I think you're pretty set. And all of them except for Frost, I think, got drafted. And Frost did get drafted at some point, but it was dropped in Grace, I think. Yeah, that sounds about right. But yeah, I think this is overall a very good, solid team. It's not flashy, but it's good. You know what I mean? I think the weaknesses is that if Cuban doesn't pilot it correctly or predict wrong or something, then you can be in some trouble because this is a very high skill team in my opinion. Like you have to be very skilled in order to use it correctly. So that could be a problem, but Cuban is skilled, so I'm not super worried about it. I'm gonna put him in A. I'm gonna put him at the top of A. I don't think he's quite S. It's just missing that something that makes it S, but I think it's a really good team. So, okay. We're on to the rain and the sun and the. Okay. I know what's left. Sorry, my throat is like dying. I might have to take a break and then record again in a second, but. And get some water. So we have Supreme Omega. There's a lot of Omegas. And the New York Hydreigons. This team is Female Basculegion, Politoed, Mega Scizor, Hydreigon, Jolteon, Torterra, Beartic, Mega Clefable, Salazzle, and Glade. It's a rain team. I know, absolute shocker. I know. I know. Clap your hands. This is an award-winning one. Yeah, it's a rain team. It's a very solid rain team. Female Basculegion and Politoed is a very strong rain duo. Obviously, you have that Swift Swim or that adaptability. Female Basculegion is also a bit trickier to prep for because it is a special attacker. It's not quite as strong as like male Basculegion, which is over here. I'll talk about him in a bit. But it is very strong, right? It's a good rain team. Scizor obviously does very well in the rain. It thrives in the rain. It wants to be in the rain. So it does. So this 3-man core here is very strong, very synergistic. The Hydreigon can do some crazy support with Tailwind, Thunderwave, Will-O-Wisp. It's also an offensive powerhouse by itself with like Draco, Dark Pulse. It gets Flash Cannon. It also gets like Heat Wave and Fire Blast and a bunch of stuff. It's very good special mon. It's bulkier than you think. Obviously, it's 4 times weak to fairy, but you have the Scizor with bullet punch, right? Like you're not super worried about fairies because you can just put these two together and threaten the fairies that threaten Hydreigon, and then Hydreigon can deal with the fires that Scizor doesn't like with like Earth Power and stuff. So, Jolteon, Volt Absorbmon, pretty good. You can protect the Basculation and the Politoed with this Jolteon, which I think is pretty good. It gets fast Electro Web as well for speed control. Gets Thunder Wave. It gets Thunder as well, which is good. My breath is like I'm running out of steam, guys. I have 2 of us here. Then you have the Torterra and Beartic duo. Beartic, I don't understand. Well, actually, does Beartic get Swift Swim? I bet it does. Beartic can be scary in the right conditions, but it's kind of there. Same with Torterra. I think they can both be scary under the right conditions, but it's getting those conditions right, and that can be pretty tricky. They're very skill expressive Pokemon. Mega Clefable here doesn't have to ever Mega Evolve, which is really nice. You can just hold the Mega Stone and be okay. Because it can heal itself. It gets, it gets to follow me. It could be Unaware or Magic Guard or I think Clefable's a very good one. I think base Clefable got left undrafted, but oh no, Clefable was drafted. It's down here. Okay, I was gonna say if base Clefable didn't get drafted, I'm getting that thing right now. Um, but yeah, and then when it Mega Evolves, it becomes that fairy typing and it gets Magic Bounce, which is really nice because you can bounce back taunts or Thunder Waves or Will-O-Wisps or things like that to keep these top three mons here safe. Salazzle and Glade. Glade is great support. It gets Trick Room, it gets Wide Guard. It can be offensive, it can be supportive. Very flexible, very good draft mon. Salazzle, I'm betting is here in case you don't want to have a rain mode. Obviously, 9 times out of 10 you're going to be running rain, but on the off chance that you aren't running rain or you need that fire type support for that defensive core, Salazzle is here. It also helps with those fairies as well that Hydreigon doesn't like. I think a lot of this team centers around Basculegion, Hydreigon, and Mega Scizor, right? Like, these are the three big pieces that you want to keep safe. And Salazzle does help keep these pieces safe by hitting things that they don't necessarily want to deal with, so. And then Glade is, Glade does Glade things. I think overall this team's pretty solid. There's not a lot of complaints. I will say that the Beartic Torterra duo feels a little weak for me, but it's not necessarily like terrible. Torterra though is a pretty big like hole in your game plan, right? Because it is a ground type. It doesn't want to take those water type moves. And something could take advantage of the rain and hit that Torterra very, very hard, which is a huge, huge downside. So Torterra, I think, being is definitely the weakest point of this team. It does drag it down a fair bit. But I think everything else is really solid, and Synergize is pretty good. I'm not sure about the Salazzle pick either, but obviously you do want that fire, water, grass course, so not a whole lot of complaints. I'm just a bit sketched on the Torterra Beartic duo, so for that reason, I'm gonna put it at the top of B. Again, I'm being very, very picky here, guys. Like, these teams are good, but please don't think I don't think that these teams are good. All these teams are very, very good. If this was a regular draft league, you would probably all be in the like A to S range. I'm just being more particular than usual. And obviously my team sucks, so we can stay in F tier. Okay, 3 more to go. I have been recording for a while. I'm probably not gonna edit this either. I'm too lazy. Okay. Next we have Big Will and the East Coast Crooks. Holy moly, you can tell I have been yapping for way too long. This is another stereotypical rain team. You have Basculegion, Pelipper, Basculegion male Basculegion. They both win back to back, which is pretty funny. You have male Basculegion, Pelipper, Mega Meganium, Scizor, Heliolisk, Mamoswine, Mega Ampharos, Toxicroak, Katarine, and base Lopunny. It's a rain team. It's a very well constructed rain team. I think it's more well constructed than Supremes, honestly. Like, and it's not really up for debate. Basculegion Pelipper is obviously insanely strong. Mega Meganium is insane in rain because it does just get that fire type Wither Ball without any drawbacks in the rain, which is absurd. Base Scizor is also just really good in rain overall because it doesn't want to take those fire moves. Heliolisk gets dry skin, which heals it every turn under the rain. It also gets it's also insanely fast. It's one of the fastest things on the board. It gets Boom Burst, Hyper Voice. It gets Thunderbolts. It gets coverage as well. It's a very scary rain offensive piece. I think the Basculegion plus Heliolisk, you're gonna want Trick Room, right? But you have to be careful setting up Trick Room because like Hatterene Mega Ampharos, right? Or a very, very strong Trick Room duo. And that Mamoswine can work in and out of Trick Room. And so can the Meganium. So I think this is overall a very, very well constructed team. I'm trying to yap as much as I can here, but it is difficult. One thing I will say is that like that Mamoswine doesn't necessarily want to be in rain, but you do have that secondary Trick Room option, right? You don't have to necessarily be under rain all the time, even though you would much prefer to be under rain. You don't have to be under rain 24/7, right? So I think overall this is extremely strong. There's not a lot of complaints here. You have everything that you need for a rain team. You can work outside of it. You can work inside Trick Room if you have to. You obviously have that Tailwind support and White Guard support with Pellet Burger. Um, you kind of have that built-in fire type with Mega Meganium too, right? So you don't have to worry about dedicating an entire slot to a fire type that you have to use outside of rain, right? Which is really nice, I think. So for me, this is honestly like top of A. I don't think it's quite as good as these two teams, but I think it's definitely top of A. Yeah, let's keep on going. I have a time limit on this recording, so I'm gonna kind of get through it, but we have two more. We're almost done. Okay, next we have Bell, the new big Astros. His team is Mega Charizard Y, Base Aerodactyl, Venusaur, Crocodile, Clefable, Simipour, Mega Manectric, Weavile, Frostlass, and Dedenne. Yeah, this team's terrifying. Yeah, this team's terrifying. It's scary. It's spooky. Not a lot to say. You have Mega Charizard Y, probably the best Mega in the game. You have Mega Manectric, which gets Intimidate and is also stupidly fast. It's a very underrated Mega in my opinion. You have Venusaur for Sun. You have Crocodile for Intimidate and like Snarl stuff. You have Clefable for Follow Me. You have Aerodactyl, which is the biggest counter to Mega Charizard Y, and you just have it. So solving Mega Charizard Y becomes even more difficult because the Aerodactyl is on this draft team as well. Weavile is an extremely fast fake out user that can work outside Sun if you wanted to. If you don't want to have that Sun mode, you could run like Crocodile, Clefable, Weavile, Mega Manectric, and maybe the Simipour or something for support. You have your Fire, Water, Grass Core, you have Charizard, Simipour, Venusaur, right? You have your Tailwind, you have your Wide Guard, you have Intimidate twice over. You have this Frostlass as well, which can put in support with like Icy Wind support to give you even more speed control. And you do have this Clefable. The one thing that really punches a hole into this and why I don't consider it S tier is the fact that it is so fast that if Trick Room ever goes up, this team just goes kaboom. It explodes from the inside out. Um, I think it draft is very important to be able to have both options and be able to work inside both options, and this team really can't, which I think really drags it down. So even though it's an incredibly built, very well constructed team, for me, it can't go above A because that Trick Room weakness is just so massive, and all of these other teams, or at least most of them, have a way to get Trick Room up fairly consistently, and that is a very consistent game plan like against you. So for me, even though I love this team and it has everything you could ever ask for on it, I am gonna put it in A, and I am gonna put it below Will's in A. I can do that. Just because that Trick Room weakness is so bad. Everything else is absolutely phenomenal, and I think if you had a way to be able to deal inside of Trick Room, this would absolutely be the best team in the Manaphy division. But because you can't, I can't put it any higher. So okay, last team. God, I've been recording for so long. I need water after this, guys. Okay, the last team we have is I'm just gonna call you Allie because I don't know how to pronounce that name. And the Boomburst something. Uh something. Yeah, I don't know what that I'm not German. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna try to pronounce it, but their team is Incineroar, Farigiraf, Torkoal, Mega Golurk, Noivern, Liepard, and Empoleon, Mega Lopunny, Victory Bell, and Morpeko. Um this team at first glance looks pretty bad, right? Like it looks bad. Like at a glance, it looks really bad. But honestly, I think this is a very well constructed draft. Um, having the Trick Room and Tailwind mode is really nice. You do have both of those modes because you do have the Mega Golurk, Torkoal, Farigiraf for a very strong Trick Room trio. But you do also have like the Noivern, the Mega Lopunny, the Empoleon for for a very strong Tailwind mode. And you also have the Victory Bell Torkoal, which Victory Bell can get some Chlorophyll Sleep powers off and do some shenanigans, which is also pretty scary. You have this Liepard that does have that prankster support with like Sunny Day if it really wants to. If you don't want to bring Torkoal and you want to bring Chlorophyll Victory Bell, but you but you would rather leave Torkoal behind, and you do have that Prankster Sunny Day, you have Fake Out, you have, a lot of support with the Slide Part, and it's a good Prankster user. Empoleon is a deceptively tanky mon. It's very good defensively, it does get good tools, it also gets competitive, which means it's pretty difficult to pin down because you don't want to lower its stats or else you're going to get kaboomed, because this is mostly offensive, but it can be supportive as well. It gets Helping Hand, it gets Icy Wind. You do also have pledge shenanigans with Incineroar and Empoleon if you want to do Rainbow Field BS, which I wouldn't stop you. That would be fun. Which is another thing. Mega Lopunny is extremely fast Fake Out user, gets Scrappy as well. Um, Obviously, if you bring it, you want to Mega it, right? Same with the Golurk. So that is like a downside to this team, is that like bringing both to preview means that you can't bring both into the same game, which makes it a little bit inflexible. But I think overall this seems pretty solid. I will say that it is a bit on the frailer side, especially because like if you want to bring both Noivern and Liepard, you can only have one Focus Sash, right? And Mega Lopunny isn't exactly like made of steel either. So, it can be tricky to use, but I guess another thing that I will say that I kind of want to complain about is that it feels like all of these Pokemon are very rigid in their roles. They're not super flexible. Which, I mean, it's okay. But from a personal standpoint, I would much rather have flexibility with my draft than be stuck in rigid roles, because it makes, especially like team preview, it makes team preview planning like, okay, if this one comes, it's obviously going to do this or this. Do you know what I mean? So for me, while it's a really well constructed team, it is gonna be put in A, and I think I am gonna just put it below Will's. I'm gonna put it below Castro's as well, or Bell's as well. But yeah, I think this is a well constructed team. It's just that the rules are a bit too rigid and a bit too obvious, so it kind of gives that disadvantage of, it kind of takes away the advantage that you would have with closed team G, right? So for me, yeah, I think it's A. Honestly, it probably goes here. I'm gonna put it at the bottom of A. No, I'm not. I'm gonna put it right here. Okay. So there we go. Those are my power rankings for Manaphy. You can agree or disagree, and that is okay. This is it. This is my opinion. The audio's gonna suck, and I'm sorry, but this is just, in the end, my opinion. And personally, if I were to put mine among these, let's look at my team really quick. Garchomp, Corviknight, Blastoise, Mega Delphox, Renamode, Paldean, Tauros, Octarmine, Ninetales, Steelix, and Mega Absol. Yeah, it's like B. It's like here probably. I'm not gonna go over my draft. That's for a draft analysis video, and I don't want to do one. So, yeah. That's them's the breaks. I hope y'all like it. This is not official or anything, so yeah. Have a good one, guys. Goodbye.